Hello and welcome along to my Easter Monday tipping preview here. This is Paul Alster at Sportsbet TV. It's very good to have you with us, and we're looking forward to a great day's racing, of course, featuring the Irish Grand National at Fairyhouse, amongst others. And I've got some pretty strong views on that 30-runner handicap chase at Fairyhouse, as well as tips also at Redcar and at Kempton. If you're new to the service, please press the subscribe button just below this screen and the little bell icon so you can be kept in touch with all my free tips that I'm offering. And also remember to tell all your friends about us, because we're having a tremendous run of success over the last 6 to 9 months, despite the fact that on Saturday, Easter Saturday, was a blank for us. It was 0 from 4, nil point. For Paul Alster on Easter Saturday, I'm afraid. This is the thing when backing decent prices. There are going to be days when you draw a blank, but I have to say this is the first time in 15 bulletins that we've drawn a blank. The last one was back on January the 9th. Now, the 4 selections very quickly on Saturday. Barton Knoll ran quite well, and I did think he might have a chance of mixing it with the hot favourite, even going down to the last, but he made a couple of mistakes. And on the run-in, those mistakes just took their toll of him, and he eventually faded agonisingly to finish 4th, so he just missed the each way there. Hayard up at Musselburgh for Harvey Basterman. Well, he actually looked at one point pulling out 2 furlongs to run to the outside, as if he might be coming with a very serious challenge, but that rather petered out, and he ran as if he needed the run, which is something he hasn't needed in the past because he's always gone well fresh. The other 2, well, Super Citizen was never going. I couldn't believe it. He was very well backed, never ran any sort of a race under Maxine O'Sullivan at Fairyhouse. And Hidden Dilemma, similar story. And the horse that was its stable companion, that I couldn't even pronounce, actually ran rather well, and I think managed to squeak into a place at a price. But Hidden Dilemma just didn't do it. And these horses, they're not machines. If they were, there'd be no bookies. The game would be easy. And I suppose that's what makes it so fascinating. You just don't know sometimes what side of bed the horses are getting out, like everybody else, like human beings. We can get up and just don't feel up for it some days. Now, the biggest piece of news on Saturday, of course, was the shock retirement of Richard Johnson. And I just thought I must say a word or two about Dickie Johnson, because he has been an absolute superstar, a great jockey, a really great jockey, in the shadow for so many years of A.P. McCoy before the champ retired, and Johnson went on to win 4 jockeys titles. Now, out of the blue, I suppose, his announcement came at Newton Abbot on Saturday that he was just going to quit. He didn't even take his last ride of the day. And obviously he just has felt that the time has come at the age of 43, which is pretty old for a jump jockey, to get out in one piece and move on to other things. In my time as a journalist interviewing jockeys and trainers on the racecourse, I can honestly say there have been few nicer, more articulate gentlemen in the weighing room than Richard Johnson. He really is a very, very decent guy, a wonderful jockey. As many trainers will attest, he's very good at giving analysis back of how the horse ran and how it could do better next time. And of course, he's won just about everything except the Grand National. Gold Cup wins, of course, including on Native River, Rooster Booster, Champion Hurdle. Many, many great horses. Menora was one of my favourites. But I would say his best ride was in defeat in the 2002 Grand National on What's Up Boys. He gave that horse the most wonderful ride under a big weight. He was still 3 lengths clear at the elbow, and he only got caught by an absolute propeller finish from Bindaree, who got up and broke his heart in the last few strides. But Dickie Johnson, whatever he does, we all wish him well, I'm sure, and it would not surprise me at all to see him moving into the media, because he's so good at speaking and analysing racing and issues in the racing world. So from all of us at Sportsbet TV, we wish Richard Johnson, the great Richard Johnson, a very happy retirement. Now, I'm going to move on to my 4 selections for Easter Monday. The very first of them is at Fairyhouse, the big meeting of the day. It's the 3:15, the 2 3/4 mile handicap hurdle. At the time of this recording, Sunday lunchtime, Easter Sunday, there are 16 runners still declared, but no odds available, which has made my task rather tricky. Now, I've got to admit that there are two horses that have stood out for me in this very hot handicap. One is called Classy K, and it's off bottom weight for Willie Mullins, and he's got Conor McNamara riding, and he's booked Conor McNamara a couple of times this season, and he's won big handicaps off very low weights. He won the Grand National Trial on If You Catch Me Now for Willie Mullins at 14-1, and then he won the big handicap hurdle at the Leopardstown Festival on Maze Runner at 40-1. And this horse gets in off a very low weight, and I really do think he's going to run well, but he could be a shorter price than I would care to take. If he happens to be a double figure price, then certainly take a second look at Classy K. But in the end, I've come down with Linwood Gold, and Linwood Gold is trained by Jessica Harrington and the mount of Robbie Power. This big strapping grey gelding carries 11 stone 5 pounds. He's a horse for whom better ground is a real key, and they're forecasting a pretty decent ground. In the end, though, I've come down with a selection of Linwood Gold for Jessica Harrington and Robbie Power. He's set to carry 11 stone 5 pounds, and for this horse, the forecast better ground, good to yielding ground, is a big plus, because he's a useful sort on the flat as well, and he won at the Curragh over 1 3/4 miles in a handicap on yielding ground in July of last year. He then went on to finish third to the remarkable Princess Zoe at Galway. She went on to win a Group 1, of course, and he was actually trying to concede her £8. So that was an amazing run. While over hurdles, he's won a maiden hurdle at Navan, where he beat Blackbow, who's very useful. That was on heavy, which he didn't ideally like. His latest 6 of 16 in a 3-mile handicap hurdle. His first handicap was very, very eye-catching behind Atlantic Shore. It was his first run for nearly 5 months. I think he'll be fitter. He's got the ground to suit. He certainly wasn't knocked about. And I think with Robbie Power on board, whose picture you see here, and it's a bit of a frightening one, I think, and that was one of the best I could find. I think Linwood Gold is going to run a really big race, and I'm expecting odds of around 14-1 to be available. So he's an each-way selection, of course, and I know many bookmakers will be paying 5 places. So Linwood Gold, each way, 5 places, 14-1 for me in the 3:15 race at Fairyhouse. And that, of course, is the selection just preferred to Classy K, unless that one happens to be a ridiculous price, which I don't anticipate. Now, my second selection is back in England at Redcar, where it's their first meeting of the 2021 season, and the 3:25 race is a 6-furlong handicap. They're forecasting good to firm ground. There hasn't been much rain at all in the northeast, and I hope it stays that way for my selection. Now, this is quite a hot handicap sprint. James Fanshawe has a horse called Bombproof, who is 2 from 3 on turf, is off a mark of 90 and could well be open to improvement. There's Intrinsic Bond, who I'm sure will be very popular with many punters, trained by Tracy Waggett. He's a progressive 3-year-old last season, won at Doncaster and Redcar, and a horse who's run well fresh in the past. And there's also Ben Haslam Fortemore. Ben's doing very well indeed, actually. This horse, Fortemore, shaped well on the all-weather at Newcastle in January when he was 3rd. Last season, he won on the turf at Ascot, and he's racing off a pound lower. So he's an interesting runner. And there's also Gale Force Meyer, trained by Michael Dodds locally, who is interesting. But I've come pretty solidly down on the side of Wentworth Falls. Now, this horse is trained by Jeff Harker, for whom I can't find a picture. So I found a picture of Wentworth Falls instead. Jeff Harker's rather camera shy. The jockey will be Sam James, who rode a horse for us on Saturday at Musselburgh. We hope for better luck with Sam James this time around. And Wentworth Falls is a 9-year-old. He knows all there is to know about the sprint handicap game. This horse, a winner of 6 from 40, 5 of them over 6 furlongs. On turf, he has to have decent ground. If it's soft or even good to soft, it will not suit him at all. And he's a horse who has to be on a straight, flat track to be at his best. Tracks like Doncaster, Nottingham, and Redcar, and they're all tracks at which he's won before. Indeed, this horse, Wentworth Falls, won this very race 4 years ago, back in 2017, off a mark of 92. That was his only run at Redcar. I'm really surprised they haven't been back since, because he obviously enjoyed himself that day. Now, more recently, he won at Doncaster last June off 89. He's had a couple of runs in the last month at Wolverhampton and Doncaster. And the last run on the all-weather, he wasn't beaten far at all behind Gunmetal. And I think that should have put him absolutely spot on. So I'm really expecting a big run. Only a couple of firms have gone up early on this race, one of which is William Hill, who offer the best odds of 15-2 early on. It could drift. And as always, as I say, remember to place your bets with a bookmaker who will pay the SP if it's a bigger prize. So 15-2 as a guide each way is recommended for Wentworth Falls in the 325 race at Doncaster. And then I'm going to take you down to Kempton for the 402 race, which is a mile listed fillies race. Now, this is a really good contest, actually. The pick on the official figures is Amanda Perrett's runner, Lavender's Blue, who's got a good record when fresh. There are two improving horses who progressed last season, John Gosden's Leafhopper and Amniarix for Ed Walker. They're both the type that could go on to better things in due course this season, while Marco Botti has a horse called Made in Italy, and the Yard have won this race 3 times in recent years, and so it would not at all surprise me to see that one run well. Now, it's always worth taking into account in these fillies, black type races, listed and group races, that it is so important for fillies to get placed in listed and group company, because it boosts their paddock value for being a broodmare by such a substantial amount. But there's a horse in this race who is so beautifully bred, she's already worth an absolute fortune, but a listed win for her would really seal the deal. There's no doubt about that. Her name is Furat, an Arabic name, trained by Roger Varian, who of course looks like a grown-up version of Harry Potter. Great trainer and a lovely guy. And the horse is ridden by Andrea Atzeni. Now, what a pedigree Furat has. She's by Dubawi, out of the Group 1 winner Now Rain, who won the Prix de l'Opera. And she's actually a full sister, no less, to the outstanding Ben Battle, who was a very high-class horse. And of course, was a Group 1 winner, including on Dubai World Cup Day, a season or two back. Now, Furat made a winning debut at Newcastle over 7 furlongs in October of 2019. So she handles the all-weather ground very well. She was then off for 7.5 months, reappeared on the all-weather at Chelmsford, winning there, bolting in by 7 lengths in the Mile Novice Stakes in June of 2020. Now, after that, they tried her luck on turf. She was a hot favourite for the Group 3 Princess Elizabeth Stakes at Epsom. She didn't handle the very difficult gradients at Epsom. She then ran on heavy ground in a Group 3 at Deauville, finishing 4th, and ended the season finishing 5th in a listed race at Newmarket behind Cloak of Spirits. Now, that was fair form, but not as good as she's shown on the all-weather, and it's my view that this is a filly who simply is made for this artificial surface. And as I've mentioned, she won first time out in her career, and she also won after a 227-day break, so I'm not concerned that this will be her first start of the season. Roger Varian also is in good form. 3 of his last 10 horses have won a 30% strike rate, and I think that Furat is going to be good enough in what is a very open listed race with lots of quality horses. I think she could be good enough to win. And certainly, I think it's all but a bet to nothing each way at the 9-2 that is offered at the time of this recording by Bet365. So Furat is my third selection of the day, going at Kempton in the 402. And then I'm going to take you on to the Irish Grand National at Fairyhouse at 5 o'clock. This is always an incredible spectacle. 3 miles, 5 furlongs, pretty quick ground, yielding, good to yielding in places. You need a horse that has a mix of stamina and is able to cope with what is often chaotic scenes there with loose horses and all sorts of things going on. And you need luck. You need luck in running in this Grand National, as you will on Saturday in the Aintree National and the weekend after in the Scottish National, maybe slightly less, but certainly at Aintree and here at Fairyhouse, where there's been all sorts of things happened over the years. Now, this is a race in which carrying big weights has proved very, very difficult over the last 40 years. In 1980, Deletta won off 11 stone 4. Maid of Money, who was terrific, won off 11 stone 6. And who can forget the superstar Desert Orchid winning off 12 stone despite demolishing the final fence in 1990. Flashing Steel won off 12 stone in 1995. He was a tremendous racehorse. Bobby Joe, who went on to win a Grand National, won off 11 stone 3. And Comanche Court in 2000, who of course was second to Best Mate in a Gold Cup, won off 11 stone 4. So very few horses have won above 11 stone in the Irish National. The most recent being Our Duke, who won off 11 stone 4. And we're talking very good horses that have managed to defy weight. Now, of course, the horse that this race is balanced around really is the high-class Latest Exhibition, who is a very, very smart novice chaser and was a very good hurdler. Monkfish is the horse who has had his measure the last 2 starts, but he's run very well on both occasions against Monkfish. And he gets in here off a mark of just 153, which is appealing because if Monkfish was in here, of course, he'd be carrying a huge amount of a much higher rating. But I just think 11 stone 10, all the hustle, bustle and the chaos of this race makes it unlikely that Latest Exhibition will win. I'm not saying he won't win, but I just think the stats and the weight and the fact that he's moving from a novice event to a race against 29 other seasoned handicappers is going to be hard. And at 6 to 1 or thereabouts, there isn't a huge amount of value, even though he is a possibly potential Gold Cup horse of the future. So I've gone against Latest Exhibition, which I know, even looking at 1 or 2 comments from previous bulletins, people do fancy. Now, there's been good money for Sempo, who's going up in trip. The Big Dog, he'll stay. 3.5 miles was the trip when he won the Punchestown Grand National Trial. He's gone up £9 for that. Cocoa Beach and Run Wild Fred were first and second in the Thyestes Trace, which is often a good trial for this, but they've both gone up, particularly Cocoa Beach, who's won since. And Escaria 10 was third at the Cheltenham Festival in the National Hunt Chase a couple of weeks ago to Galvin. So you've got to respect his chance as well, although the race could come too soon. Now, I have decided to put up 2 recommendations here, and I'm going to be splitting my stakes. You can pay your money and take your chance, or you can completely ignore what I say. That is your prerogative, of course. Now, the first one I'm tipping here is a horse trained by Willie Mullins and the mount of Rachel Blackmore, and the horse is Robin De Carlo. Now, some of you will be jumping off your seats and saying, what? Robin De Carlo? It's not run for 547 days. Well, that's true, which makes me think, why would Willie Mullins, the greatest trainer of a jumps horse that I've seen, I think, apart from probably Martin Pipe, why would he throw a horse in after 547 days into the Irish Grand National? Especially one that hasn't run so many times over fences. And the answer, I believe, is because this mare is very, very talented. She's gone well fresh in the past, and she loves this decent ground. She's obviously had issues, but they wouldn't run her here and wouldn't have Rachel Blackmore on her if they didn't think she was going to go well. Now, this horse has won over 2 3/4 miles in listed company and 3 miles in listed company over hurdles, where she gave the impression she could stay a lot further. She took well to fences. She really is classy. She won over 2.5 miles at Kilbeggan in June of 2019 by 11 lengths. She then won over 2 miles 7 furlongs at Killarney soon after that, beating Brahma Bull, who's a good sort, and he's in the race on Monday. But her last run shows what a classy horse she is, because she dropped back to 2.5 miles and she finished with such power and a terrific turn of foot and she beat Put the Kettle On, who of course went on to win the Yorkhill and then most recently won the Champion Chase. It is marvellous form. And I suppose people will wonder, will she stay? Well, I think if she gets a clear round and a bit of luck in running, I think she probably will stay. And I'm sure that Willie Mullins will have her fit to run for her life. Now, what's interesting here is the bookies have a nice divided opinion, which I'm really happy to see, because I hate it when they all follow each other like sheep. I like them to bet like men and have a courage of their convictions. At the time of this recording, Paddy Power and Betfair are offering only 14-1 about Robin DiCarlo. They're all obviously frightened of her. Quite a few are offering 20 or 18. William Hills and Bet Victor are offering 22-1 each way, and many of these are offering 6 places. But Bet365, and I've checked this on their website, they're still offering 28-1 each way. They obviously think she can't do it, and so they decided to stick their head above the parapet and take a chance. Well, I'm taking a chance on Robin DiCarlo at 28-1 to run a huge race in the Irish National. But there's another one that I fancy as well, and it's another mare, and that one is called Moyhenna, trained by Dennis Hogan, who's not long since stopped riding, and he's a very good trainer, and ridden by Hugh Morgan, who's able to claim £5. Terrific young rider. You can't forget what he did on Young Dev, of course, just a few weeks ago, riding without stirrups, as I mentioned in a previous broadcast. Now, this horse really does stay, and it goes well in big field handicap chases. Second in a Kerry National at Listowel, fourth in the Munster National, second in a Grade 3 mares chase to Augusta Gold, who's also in the race on Monday, and she's £2 better off with Augusta Gold for half her length. She was third in the Punchestown Grand National trial behind that thing I mentioned before, the Big Dog, and she's £10 better off with the Big Dog for 7 lengths. And then at Cheltenham 17 days ago, in that wonderful race in which Cool Reevy and Ellie May fought out a tremendous finish, form that's already been franked by Ellie May winning on Saturday at Fairyhouse. I was watching Moyhenna, and she was a little bit outpaced, as you might expect, over 2 miles 5. And then she was really badly hampered. I think it was at 3 out. And I stopped looking for her. The cameras focused in on that great fight that we saw between Cool Reevy and Ellie May, with Cool Reevy just prevailing. And then, of course, when they panned back, finishing really strongly into 5th place, despite having been badly hampered, was Moyhenna. And I think that run, despite all that went wrong, may well have put her spot on. And if she does get the luck in running, she will stay. She is fit. She can handle the ground. And at 25-1 each way, 7 places with Sky Bet, 6 with William Hill, Gentings and such, I think Moyhenna will also give you a run for your money. And along with Robin DiCarlo, they are my selections for the Irish National. So there you have it. It's going to be an exciting day on Easter Monday. I wish all our horses good luck and a safe home. I wish you the best of luck, however you choose or don't choose to follow my advice. And let me remind you that, of course, it's the Aintree Festival starting on Thursday, with the Grand National, of course, on Saturday. And I'll be putting up bulletins on Wednesday for Thursday, Thursday for Friday, and Friday, of course, for Grand National Saturday. So there's a lot to look forward to. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already done so. And let's hope these horses go well for us on Easter Monday. Paul Alster signing off. Bye-bye for now.